Is that what it is?
I think that's what it is, but that's my name.
What's that?
That would happen to be a
Yes, it's his son.
Is it really?
Yeah. He comes in here, he comes in here, he's like a superstar. Like he comes in and does so much work in like 2 weeks and everybody loves him to death. And it's
You're right, it does take a bit.
so like, can we get Jack back? Because it's a very positive thing. I'd like to go ahead and get this meeting started of the Warren County Board of Supervisors. Today is Tuesday, March 7th, 2023 at 9:30 a.m. and we're in the Warren County Supervisors Boardroom. Roll call, please.
McIntyre?
Here.
Snell?
Here.
Peter?
Here. We have a quorum. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Are there any agenda deletions? Okay, the first item on our agenda is our consent agenda. I'll give the board just a second to look through this.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda, items A through J.
I'll second. We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
McIntyre?
Aye.
Snell?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye, thank you. Motion passes. The second item on our agenda, and I guess we'll have to wait just a minute here till 9:35. That may be.
Would it be appropriate to have a little bit of commentary from the engineer on the CIP
Yeah,
before
we
we get
will.
into the?
Yes, when we get into public hearing.
I can do that. Would you like me to speak?
Yeah,
briefly
just
on it?
some
Okay.
overview type stuff while we're waiting to officially start the public hearing.
Okay. David, do you want to?
Yeah, so this is the 5-year program. It's due every April each year, so we submit it to the state on an annual basis. I know all the counties are kind of in a crunch, with different things happening that we're all hearing about to meet that deadline, but we're going to do our best to get it submitted by that April deadline, and part of that is the public hearing process. So we have not received any comments on the 5-year construction program that I'm aware of. It's been posted on the website for probably about a month now. And this is the preview of it. And so we submit this online to the state. And I can pull that up here. So you can see the official form has the preview stamp. And then this goes through each project by year. So I'll just run through them. We have the County Highway R57 bridge replacement project over the North River. The $1.6 million in federal aid is a earmark we're hoping to get on that bridge to help supplement funding. And then the rest would be covered by farm to market account dollars. So we applied for earmark funding and we think we got the award, but I guess I don't get excited till I actually get on the roller coaster ride, so we're still waiting on the official agreement, but word on the street is we have an earmark for that project.
Okay.
The next project also shows this is a different type of federal aid. Similar to what Megan has said at meetings, we have official forms we have to fill out, and this is that official form. So it's not the most visually appealing, but In this instance, the federal aid is the Highway Bridge Program funding. You'll see a lot of times we can't use local dollars to do replacements, but local dollars are used a lot of times for repairs and rehabs. Next project is over the South River, another federal aid project, bridge replacement. And then we moved the landslide repair on S23 to fiscal year 25, as discussed prior. And then the last project in fiscal year 25 is on Pierce Street over Painter Creek, and then we get into 26. That would be likely a 4-inch overlay, possibly with base widening from the city of Milo to Lacona. I think the base widening hinges on whether or not we're awarded $4.8 million in additional federal aid for that project as well. That's through the RAISE grant. We did submit a different grant for Safe Streets for All, but I think other counties got that award. It was submitted by 98 counties out of the 99. So these are all competitive grants. They're not givens. Then the next is G48 over Branch Coal Creek in 2026. 140th Avenue, another bridge replacement. I'll pull a map up right after this so we can visually see. And then we get into 27, lots of bridge replacement work, lower volume roads. So you're going to see they base funding based on the functional classification of roads and traffic volumes and a lot of other stipulations. So for instance, the top bridge project you see is 20% farm to market and 80% federal aid. So again, that's not touching the local budget at all. And then another big road project I'll point out is Scotch Ridge Road from the city of Carlisle to 6569. We applied for additional MPO funding to help offset the SERPA funding on that project. We're not sure if that'll be awarded or not, but if we can offset Central Iowa Regional Transportation Planning Authority dollars, basically all this federal aid helps free up money for future work you're not going to see on the plan. So a big hot topic item would be G76 from Medora to New Virginia. It's not an ideal condition, but it doesn't have the traffic volume as R57. So knock on wood, if all this funding is awarded, you'd likely see G76 on next year's 5-year plan because, like as I mentioned, it just frees up more funding when we get millions in federal aid. And then finally, you get into 2028, and these are more your placeholders and kind of projects we're doing with other counties. So they border Clark and Lucas County, and we coordinate with them to match the same years. So it kind of hinges on both parties scheduling it at the same time, but you'll generally see that in our last years of the 5-year construction program with bordering counties that are also programming the same project. So, you know, if this is either Lucas or Clark County, they would have $900,000 in their program, and so would we, for a total of $1.8 million. And then this is just a visual of the projects I briefly ran through. You can see there really is no difference north of 92 or south of 92. In fact, usually there's more work south of 92. Here's what the 5-year plan looked like in 2015. Again, the same theme. There's really not much north versus south. I know that I get to hear that a lot, but it's simply not true.
Right.
And there's a map. And then on the 5-year program, we're stuck to borrow ahead limits, which are set for us. So if I can pull a graph up here, this is 2014 and on when we had a surplus. And basically, you can see the different colored lines. Essentially, we try to ride between that black line, which is at 0, and our borrow ahead limits. So we're always in debt, basically, but we're always riding the line. So you can't actually really add work to the 5-year plan without saying what you're going to take off of the 5-year plan, because you're riding the limits. With that, That's all I have.
Thank you very much, David. It's a
you.
good overview. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to go into public hearing so we can hear from our public on the 5-year plan and any comments that they have. So I'll make a motion to go into a public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Snell.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye. We're now in public hearing. Is there anybody from the public that would like to give some comments on the 5-year road construction plan? Please state your name and your address, although we know that.
Marilyn Holderman, 19057 Drake Street. I'm not objecting to anything on the 5-year plan, 'cause I have been through this a lot of times. But I do have a concern about the northeast part of the county. I divide the county kind of east and west rather than north and south anymore, because that is where a lot of our growth situation is. But I see we are going to fix the slip that has been there. David inherited it, and that's been an ongoing thing for probably 20 years. And this time I hope I see surveyors, and I think we have a different plan possibly there.
Can you, David, can you
also-
can you point out on the map where she's talking about?
Oh, it's
Yeah, I
on.
can. It's
Yeah,
right.
it's S23, north of Palmyra on
It's that blue
S23.
dot, Darren.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's that landslide area.
David and I'm looking at him, I guess, and he understands where I'm at with this. But anyway, back in the mid-1960s, they paved S23 north of 92 to Highway 5 in 2 different years. And back in about whenever Highway 5 divided, the state came in and helped the county put in a bridge over by Hartford and paved the road to Palmyra, helped pave that, so they could use it as a bypass when Highway 5 went in. That's why the north half of S23 has an overlay, which is now breaking up. At the time, the supervisors put in to overlay the south half of S23. It was in the 5-year plan in 2011, and it's gone away, and we don't ever talk about it anymore. And my fault that I did not attend the budget meetings, but I didn't. And therefore, I would like to have that considered to be put back on to get an overlay on S23. It's broken up, it has holes in it, and it's patched. I'm not saying that the engineers department doesn't come out and do something. They do, but it's just more of it breaks up. It's old. It needs to have something done, or are we going to look at completely doing the 8 miles PC at a later time? And that's my request, that we look at this down the road, and if we can't do one of these, if this qualifies, I'd like to have it put on the 5-year plan again, at least, so we could get that repaired. So that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marilyn. Do you want to comment on that, David? Or do you want
I can.
briefly?
I would, it's kind of, if you can get funding for these projects, I would recommend you place the projects he's speaking of on the next year's plan, because we've been submitting grants and awards for these current projects that are listed, which are, in our opinion, have a better shot at receiving the funding than that roadway, not because it doesn't need it, but because there's just little things on those roadways they like to see in those grants. You know, like for instance, with Milo, Milo could be the primary elementary school for that area, so that's another case to award you guys federal dollars, because now all the children have to be transported to that central location using S23. So it just has those little things that kind of take it up a notch when you're submitting applications for these fundings. But if you do get awarded all the funding you're applying for, and it is competitive, then the projects that she's bringing up are things that should definitely be put on even next year's 5-year plan, because that'll free up more dollars.
Okay. Thank you for that. Is there anybody else from the public that would like to talk about the 5-year plan? Okay. I'll make a motion to go out of public hearing.
Second. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Snell.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye. Okay, we're back in regular session. The next item on our agenda is a public hearing for fiscal year 2023 Engineering Department Budget Amendment.
Me?
Yeah.
What you have before you is the amendment submitted on behalf of our department. The major items is a settlement. We would like to purchase 2 used semi-trucks. We have it in our plans to purchase a new semi, however, they're 2 to 3 years out, if not further out, to purchase new equipment. Fuel is a big one. Obviously, the cost of diesel's going up, so we'd like to amend for that. And then the rest are miscellaneous projects and scheduling items. So for instance, project retainage, we're still working on closing out that project. That one had federal dollars. So there is red tape associated with these. But I'd take any questions on them. They're unforeseen things, but if, we hope we estimate high enough, but it's anyone's guess on what fuel's gonna do in the next couple of years. We try to, this assumes $5.75 a gallon, and we hope that's high enough.
So when you have a budget amendment of this nature, does that typically come out of your secondary roads fund or the general fund?
It generally comes out of the secondary road reserves.
Okay. So what would that do to what does that do to your balance? And maybe Megan can help us answer that if you're not, I don't expect you to have that
Megan
information.
could help. I typically look at year-end balances when I'm looking at things. Like if you take a snapshot in a month, it doesn't really paint a clear picture. Because if we're waiting on 3 motor graders to arrive that year and we haven't paid the bill on them yet, our revenues are going to look a lot higher than our expenses, right? Because we haven't spent that money down. So
There's actual money and there's budget money.
it's
two
doing
different
this
scenarios.
throughout the year. So the way to not drive yourself insane is you typically look at year-end dollars.
Okay.
And so year-end, we usually recommend that we don't go below 2 million in secondary road reserves as a bare minimum, and then you kind of try and keep building it up from there.
Okay. Okay. Any questions for David? No. Okay. This time I'd like to make a motion to go into a public hearing for the fiscal year 23 Engineering Department Budget Amendment. Is there anybody I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Snell.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye. Okay, we're now in a public hearing. Is there anybody from the public that would like to talk to the board about this amendment? Okay. Make a motion to leave public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Snell.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye. So we're now in regular session. So there's no possible action on this agenda item, so we're going to leave this to,
Yeah, we'll have the action item on the next regular meeting
Okay.
or next meeting where we take
Excellent.
another vote.
thank you very much, David.
Wanted a decent comment period for it, and normally we do have the action item immediately following it, but
Okay.
next meeting you'll see that.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda is a public hearing for rezoning application for land from A1 Agricultural District to R1 Rural Residential District, as submitted by Zachary Mormon and Matt McGinnis. Hi, Miranda.
Sorry, get my paperwork. Zach Mormon and Matt McGinnis are asking to rezone approximately 31 acres of ground from A1 to RR1 for proposed subdivision. The proposed lot sizes range anywhere from 2.5 acres to about 15 acres. This is along S23 highway. There's currently RR1, R1, and RR2 just south of this proposed development. It's just south of Palmyra. Zach has already submitted an application to the county engineer to talk about proposed driveway entrances. I've included those in your packets. Some of those entrances will have to be possibly shared. If this progresses, we will have to discuss more with the county engineer to make sure all those driveway entrances are approved. I've also included in your packet a letter from Kevin and Phyllis Buttery. They live just north of the proposed development. They had some concerns. They were present at the meeting that night, and their daughter spoke on their behalf, and the commission answered some questions for them that evening. Rooney moved to approve this, and seconded by Westrom. All board members approved. There was one member that was not present, and that was Laura Oliver.
So what was the total vote from the Board of Adjustment?
4-4, they all approved.
4-0, okay.
Yeah. Laura was not able to make it that night, so.
Okay. Are there any questions for Miranda from the board?
Does this fit within our present zoning ordinances as far as, I'm assuming because the zoning board approved it 4-0, they must have,
Right.
There's no
Yes, so we're-
exception.
Yeah. One advantage to this one, if you do approve it to the RR1, is it already is on a paved road. I mean, those are some of the stipulations that we have in our current ordinance, that for a subdivision, for a proposed subdivision, it's along a paved road. And this one does meet those standards at this time.
Any other discussion? Thank you, Miranda.
Thank you.
This time, I'd like to make a motion to go into public hearing for rezoning application for land from A1 Agricultural to rural, RR1 Rural Residential District, as submitted by Zachary Mormon and Matt McGinnis.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
McIntyre. Aye.
Snell.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye. Okay, we're now in a public hearing. Is there anybody from the public that would like to comment on this rezoning application? Okay, I'll make a motion to leave public hearing.
Oops.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
I'm slow today.
Oh, you're doing good.
Alderman 19057.
Sorry about that.
It seems to be my day to be up here. I do have some concerns about this in regard to the entrances. The one to the north appears to be fine. I do not know if Center Street in Palmyra is completely closed back when they changed this S23 highway, because that used to go straight through. That used to be the main road until it was changed back in the 60s. Obviously, he has said no to the one coming out of the south entrance to the cemetery. It would be from the top, be 1, 2, 3, fourth one down. That is an extremely dangerous exit coming out of the cemetery when we have funerals. Even if you don't have funerals, When you come out of there, it's on a curve. They come around that curve very fast. I was very pleased to see that was a no. I don't have a problem with the one to the north. I would like to see one to the south. I would like to see consideration as a frontage road in there and have fewer exits onto that highway due to the fact that that is the main highway that hauls grain to the elevator at Avon. And it is very heavily traveled, and it's hard for those semis to stop. And most of us that live there know that. People moving out there will learn that. But I do have a concern in regard to that. I guess I would like to see a frontage road some way put on there so that we could have maybe a north and a south exit to these parcels. And I know that has been done. I know a place south of 92 on S23 has that same thing. And that, of course, is up to the zoning department and so forth. But I would like to have that looked at. I like the one that says proposed possible because it takes it a little further up. The sight distance is bad coming out of that cemetery, and that north entrance, we do have better sight distance, but you can't get any kind of a truck or anything in there. It's too narrow and there's an arch there. So we use the south entrance the most to get the trucks with the vaults, the diggers and various things. They have to use that entrance.
Okay.
So I'm very concerned with that visibility and the sight distance there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn. Miranda, do you want to comment on the entrances and the potentiality of a frontage road and some of the issues zoning seeing with visibility and safety?
I was hoping that Zach or Matt would have been here today, but they are not. I understand Marilyn's concerns, and as this project moves forward, those are things that we will have to look at. Of course, if there's concerns about, sight distance with that driveway off the cemetery, those are things that we need to look at. Though, when the engineer's office did do their initial review, they did put there that some of those entrances would not be approved. So if this does progress, those will need to be addressed.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Is there anybody else from the public that would like to speak on this issue? Okay, I'd like to make a motion to leave public hearing.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
McIntyre?
Aye.
Snell?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye. We're now in regular session. Again, I don't see possible action here. Do you want, is it something we can vote on at this point?
For the rezoning.
Correct.
Yeah, that's all today is just asking if you would approve the rezoning from A1 to RR1 with the possibility of a proposed subdivision development.
Okay.
And if you wish to waive the second and third reading as well.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve the rezoning application for land from A1 Agricultural District to RR1 Rural Residential District as submitted by Zachary Mormon and Matt McGinnis. And I'd make a motion to waive the second and the third reading.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
McIntyre?
Aye.
Snell?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye. The rezoning has been changed. That has been approved. The next item on our agenda is a public hearing for rezoning application for land from A1 Agricultural District to M1 Light Industrial District as submitted by Jeffrey A. Gaddis.
Jeffrey Gaddis is representing Dwayne and Rhonda Burkhart of 3797 120th Avenue in Carlisle. They're asking to rezone approximately 3.69 acres of ground from A1 agricultural to M1 light industrial. This is to align with the property that is just to the south of them. Back in 2003, the Burkharts rezoned approximately 40 acres. They own the underground company, so that is why that was rezoned in 2003. During that time, they also paved Drake Street, or Dakota Street, from Highway 65, 69 to 120th Avenue. So that has been paved, and they will use that existing entrance as well.
Did the Board of Adjustments take a look at this?
The zoning commission voted, and all members were approved the rezoning application. This is just kind of to align with what is to the south, and they want to split that 3.69 acres off from their existing ground that is A1.
Was there any public feedback?
There was a couple people that came to the meeting. One of them, they just wanted information. That was Deanne Fredericks at 11905 Dakota Street. She just wanted a better understanding. And then Murray McGee of 4598 Highway 6569, he just commented that the underground company has been good neighbors over the years.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to go into public hearing for the rezoning application discussed.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Snell.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye. We're now in public hearing. This is an opportunity for the public to provide some comments and some direction to the Board of Supervisors. Is there anybody from the public who would like to speak on this matter?
Jeffrey Gaddis, 2400 86th Street, Urbandale, Iowa.
Welcome.
Yeah, obviously I'm representing the Burkhart family. Essentially, this rezoning is to align with an existing shop that was constructed when the underground company was just a couple dudes in a truck and a backhoe. Obviously, that shop at that time aligned with the current use or zoning of the property. Well, since then the business has grown, they rezoned to the south, and now you're looking at a situation where a shop sits on a, at the time, appropriate zoning, but no longer really aligns with that zoning anymore. And obviously the Burkharts are being smart with their assets and their company to separate commercial from residential. Their own property is, they're probably not going to own the company forever, but they obviously want to realign that. And we are preparing a plat of survey to align with this rezoning. It's currently at the City of Des Moines in review, so this will be attached with a plat of survey that is legally tied to the 40-acre piece she was discussing to the south, so will not be able to be severed from the other without your approval. If you have any other questions about it, I know too much.
Well, we appreciate you being here and getting your direction on this, and I have no questions for Mr. Gaddis at this time. Okay. Is there anybody else from the public that would like to talk about this? Okay, I'll make a motion to... Oh, sir, did you want to...
My name, excuse me, my name is Murray McKee. I spoke at the last meeting, and these folks have been good neighbors. They help maintain the road along there from Dakota all the way out to 120th Street. And I think this makes good sense. I would encourage you to approve the rezoning request.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. McGee. Anybody else from the public? Maybe I'll give this just a little bit more time. Okay, at this point, I'd like to make a motion to leave public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to leave public hearing. Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Snell,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye. Okay. Is there any more discussion from the board on this matter? Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the rezoning application for land from A1 Agricultural District to M1 Light Industrial District as submitted by Jeffrey A. Gaddis.
you want to waive the second and third reading?
Yes, and I'd like to waive the second and the third reading. Thank you, Dawn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
McIntyre,
Aye.
Snell,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye. Motion passes. The next item on the agenda is to consider approval of ARPA payments for Friends of Carlisle Parks with possible action.
Hello. So this was just, we're bringing it before you. It's already been approved. It was approved in May of 2022, but now they're requesting their payment, and just due to the size, it's $75,000. You had some that you had kind of pre-approved just to go ahead and go pay. They weren't on that list, so we just wanted to get them in front of you. They've got all their paperwork turned in, so we just wanted to get the go-ahead to go ahead and be able to issue the check to them.
What was the total amount of their ARPA request?
$75,000.
Is the total, and that's what they're asking to be submitted back to them?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you know the status? I mean, maybe you don't, they probably haven't broken ground yet. They have the engineering done and they're ready to go.
Oh, I'm pretty sure they have. They've already started work on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Work has begun. Are there any questions from the Board of Supervisors in regards to this matter?
Just to clarify, so the ARPA funds totaled, was it 75,000 for this project?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Are we releasing the entire 75,000 at this
Yes.
time with this motion if we go forward?
Yes.
Yes, we would be. And they provided receipts and documentation that are in alignment with the ARPA guidelines, and we're all good with that. We've done our due diligence. Dawn, you're good with what you've seen on this project? And Megan, you're good? Any other questions? I'd like to make a motion to approve the ARPA payment to the Friends of Carlisle Parks in the amount of $75,000.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
McIntyre,
Aye.
Snell,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much, Megan. Okay, the next item on our agenda is a presentation of the 2022 CLG Annual Report with possible action. Morning.
Alfonso Valenzuela Gumucio, 14586 Scott Street Road. I'm the chair for the Historic Preservation Commission. And every February, we submit to the state to keep the certification of CLG, a full report we did the year past, in this case, 2022. So it just to summarize, as a commission, with the support of the supervisors, we got a grant and we did a full inventory countywide of all the little townships and figured out a list that we have now submitted to the state, and now we have something to work with in each community and areas they need help, especially, little communities that don't have a downtown per se, but they have enough stock of old buildings that they should be preserved. Our main intention with this is trying to keep these structures in the best possible way, teach the communities that there is funding from the state of Iowa and the federal government to restore these things, and kind of making sure people understand they're not paying more taxes if they fix these properties. And that's kind of one of the biggest misunderstandings of the law in terms of preservation. So we did, apart from the CLG report, we have been working with the City of Hartford to create a walking tour for historical significance. They don't have a downtown per se again, but they have similar structures, and we're trying to assist them through the process. We're very excited about also Jefferson Highway has approached us, and they wanted to put special markers in the anniversary coming into Indianola and the Hastings gas station, which is coming up soon. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody, especially for Mr. Snell, which is new, to know what we're doing and why we ask for money sometimes, even though our budgets still stick to 3,000. We're really happy so far with that. The only suggestion I would like to have, which has nothing to do with CLG per se, but helps in the future, I'm not sure what's the process when you own a piece of land and you have an old farmhouse in it, that the owners, they decided that it would be better to burn it down and build something new. If there is a way, we probably can have, some communities have CLG and also commissions that they have some say-so when that thing comes for permission. I'm not sure when somebody wants to demolish if you need a permit or not. I don't know the procedure. All I would like to suggest, if there is a possibility, right now, in the state of Iowa, you can charge around 10 to 15,000 to move a structure from a location to somewhere else. We have a huge housing deficit, and many people have land, but they don't have a house. So I wanted to introduce the idea, possibilities, if somebody comes to request a permit to demolish or burn. I think burn, a lot of fire departments use it as a training, but I think it's a horrible way to get rid of a property, unless it's just condemned and there's no better. We don't know what's in there. We burn these things, we all breathe around, and we are in dire straits right now with climate. So one of the things I would suggest, if we can introduce an idea of the possibility to get these homes, if they don't want it anymore on the property, have a possibility to come to us. We can find avenues to maybe move it to somebody might need the structure. Or if it's really significant, can be relocated to an area, can be a park, and save it. And that's all I wanted to add to our CLG report. Thank you for signing it, Mr. Peter.
Thank you so much.
So we need to submit now the final report with your signature, so.
Yes.
I got the signature from Michaela. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll just comment, we appreciate your thoughts on, trying to save the properties and transport them. I just don't know. I haven't, in my 2 years here, I haven't seen any kind of, process where we're aware or made aware of tearing down a building or raising a building. But that kind of sparks a thought on maybe we should try to figure that out so we can kind of communicate on what's going on with you and you can communicate with us and we can try to figure out what's in the best interest of Warren County.
I appreciate it. I think it will be good publicity also for the county to attract more people. There's a huge interest now in preservation all around the country. Mm-hmm. And I was happy to hear this news about, I forgot, it was Northern Iowa, old library, if a Carnegie library is going to be converted into apartments, which is a great way to do it.
Yeah.
We see tragic things happening in Knoxville, for example, all those barracks, that they were gorgeous buildings, the full village got demolished. And what we're building is nothing to even close to the quality of those buildings. It took a long time. There was reinforced concrete. Yes, there is asbestos. There's asbestos in this building. You can mitigate that. And without touching it, you just plaster it up. So there is ways to do it, and you save a ton of money and keep the spirit of what it was. It's like what they're doing now with Fort Des Moines in Army Post Road. They save a bunch of those buildings, which is a great thing. Attracts tourism.
Yeah.
Not everything has to be brand new or pole buildings. So, anyways, food for thought. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Do we need a motion to approve the report? Because the board member's going to sign it?
Oh, it's already done. Yeah, but this is a yearly thing, and I'm not sure how you guys need to do it.
Yeah. Are there any other questions or comments from the board or discussion needed? Okay. Anything, Mark? Okay. So I'll make a motion to approve the 2022 CLG annual report.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
McIntyre?
Aye.
Snell?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye. Thank you again for being here. The 8th item on our agenda is to consider reappointment requests from Charles Bergen and Mark Putney to the Condemnation Compensation Commission, persons having knowledge of property values by reason of occupation, with possible action. Has the board had an opportunity to look at these applications, and are there any questions on these applications?
Nope.
No.
Any questions? Okay, I'd like to make a motion to reappoint Charles Bergen and Mark Putney to the Condemnation Compensation Commission.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
McIntyre?
Aye.
Snell?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you to those individuals for serving on that board. Okay, the next item on the agenda is to receive and file reports. We have General Assistance, the Humane Society, Recorder, and Veterans Affairs.
I believe we've got people here to present.
Is there anybody here from these departments that would like to talk with the board?
Oh, I see the recorder here.
If you have any questions about my report, I don't have really anything different than how I explained the figures on this report the last month.
Could you just hit the highlights?
Yes, the recording fees are down. Real estate is kind of slow. Generally, that's kind of typical in the colder months. And with the rates, the mortgage rates, it's kind of just slower than usual. With the weather not being so much snow, we're seeing a little bit of an uptick in registration fees, and we are scheduling as many passports as we can possibly get my 2 gals to do. So that's definitely helping even out those revenues coming in.
Okay.
So you're saying the fee collection is down a little bit from what it?
The real estate fees, but
Yeah,
that's kind of
yeah.
typical of this time anyways.
How's everything else going?
Really good. Yep, we've made a lot of changes. Our printing of things has gone down a lot. Sharon, my deputy, she was telling me that she used to replace the reams of paper about every 2 to 3 days, but she's only done it once or twice since I've been there. So we've definitely cut down on paper quite a bit. So it's not going to offset these costs in paper, but it's a start.
I have a question for you, and it's really not related as much to the report as it is just the operations. Do you have e-commerce activity in your office? Are you capable of using e-commerce for your activity, or is everything in a paper format?
We have electronic filings that come in, and we do a lot of that. I wouldn't say 50%, but we have a lot. They do pay an additional fee to use that Iowa Land Records. That isn't our website. We kind of service through them. But real estate, they can do that. They can renew their vehicles online too, their off-road vehicles. So,
Do you see that changing in additional ways going into the future?
I think that every year we kind of see an uptick in people doing electronic filing, yeah. But there aren't individuals. You can't, as an individual, you couldn't set up an Iowa Land Records account. You would have to be an attorney or the abstracting companies like that. So there's always going to be people that have to bring it in paper or send it in.
Well, I'm hearing nothing but great things out of your office and your leadership, and I just want to say thank you very much for being a part of Warren County and being here, and I think our future's very bright in that department.
Thank you so much, Darren. That was very kind.
Why don't we talk a little bit? This is good,
Oh,
thank
I'm
you.
done.
Yeah,
All right,
thank you.
Thanks.
I have another report I'd like to have. Betsy's not here, is she?
I don't see Betsy.
Oh, okay. I would move approval of and filing of the reports for General Assistance, Humane Society, Recorder, and Veterans Affairs.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
McIntyre?
Aye.
Snell?
Aye.
Aye. The next item on our agenda is the Supervisors' report.
I'll go. Attended a CFR meeting with local and state leaders across our nation. And Essex Regional 1 Interoperability Committee. Attended the Warren County Fire Chiefs meeting. Attended several special meetings, including closed sessions. Attended the Greater Des Moines Council of Watershed Management. And work sessions includes budget work sessions of about 4. Board of Directors, 5th Judicial District, Department of Corrections Services meeting. Carlisle Chamber Coffee with representatives. It was Senator Garrett, myself, Superintendent of the Carlisle Schools, and Representative Stan Gustafson. And that was at the Carlisle City Hall. United Way Opera Unity introduction meeting, conference board to meet and approve the assessor's budget. The CBC board chair Zoom with Director Skinner. And U.S. Global Leadership Coalition luncheon. Had a meeting with Kyle Jacobs concerning community project funding applications. The MSA presentation concerning land use plan and ordinances for zoning. And attended a webinar entitled Difficult Persons in the Workplace.
Thank you, Crystal. I'm going to bypass on my report at this time. Mr. Snell?
Well, as you have indicated, this is a very busy time, of course. We've had numerous meetings relating to public hearings and budget discussions over the last 3 weeks. And in addition to that, we have the ongoing relationships that we have with HERDA, CICS, and Impact. I've had board meetings with each of those groups, have more coming up. I also have had interactions with the superintendent of schools for Norwalk and the Norwalk city manager, and we'll be attending the Iowa State Association of County Supervisors meeting this Thursday and Friday for the spring conference. So it's a busy time. We've got a lot of stuff going on.
Thank you very much. This has been busy, and I want to thank the other supervisors for the time and the commitment that it takes to get through the budget this time of year. These people work very hard, and it's very much appreciated from my position. And at this point in the meeting, the next item on the agenda is public input. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak with the Board of Supervisors? Okay, our next meeting date is March 21st, 2000. Oh, yes, sir. Sorry about that. I've been going too quick today.
No worries.
I thought I was looking.
Do I need to state my name again? Alfonso Lesuele Gumucio. I actually wanted to make a comment when doing the engineer was here, talking about the budget part of fuel. And one of the things, I think you were at that meeting, but you were not. We discussed, I brought a whole report about plant material on the ditches. Mm-hmm. And Iowa has one of the cleanest ditches I've seen in the country. We're kind of meticulous to maintain. But at the same token, that has a huge cost, I'm assuming, for people driving with a mower in the back. So one of the things I suggested towards the end of summer, around August, and actually even September, there's nothing really blooming. We have a problem with bees. Most of the colonies keep dying. And I'm just talking about my property itself. The front road on Scottrade Road, we have these plants that it's chicory, that it blooms in that time of the year. It produces food for the bees. You probably think this is dumb, but it's not. I can tell you, if you have this truck driving around spending gas to mow something, it's less than a foot tall. It doesn't prevent the view of anybody. Leave the plants alone, save the fuel, use it for something that's really important. when we're talking about, things, I'm not very tall, but let's say, vegetation, it will be tall enough that it will be really a danger for people exiting the properties or whatever. When I was talking to the engineer, he told me in the old days, all those ditches were maintained by the owners of the land. In some point in time, this got changed, and they transferred the ball to the county, which maybe in times of tightened belts, it would not be a bad idea to think about that. I'm not talking about people, people even that they in the older age, that they are not farming, they lease their farms. There's somebody there with equipment. What I'm trying to say is maybe it would be a good thing to save money in fuel if we stop this mowing incessantly of the ditches. That's all.
We appreciate that. Is there anybody else from the public that would like to come forward? Okay. Our next meeting date is March 21st, 2023 at 9:30 a.m. I'll make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned.